Hi guys, Gabby from UiPath Hacks here. In today's video, I want to continue a series of videos that I've started some time ago that is called RPA, a journey from the initial idea to implementation. And I want to focus on one of the first steps, that is the Discovery Workshop. What is it? How does it look like? And what are the main points to cover? And I will focus on the audience, on the duration of the workshop, on the content, of course, and on the follow-up. So we will start with audience. I believe it brings more value the more diverse it is. It is usually easier to get people together from just one department, but I think the benefit of the potential use cases that are identified during the workshop are greater if the process is more end-to-end. And we can achieve that typically when we have more departments joining in the Discovery Workshop. In terms of headcount, I believe 6 to 8 participants is probably the maximum that would yield still good results and have everybody engaged. Duration. It makes a difference if the workshop is on-site or online. If it is on-site, I believe 3 to possibly 4 hours would be a good amount of time to get everybody involved, to present all the content and have enough time for meaningful interaction, for brainstorming and evaluation of the ideas at the end. If it is online, typically we can't really capture the attention of the audience for that long. It's a bit less interaction, and I believe 1.5 to 2 hours would probably be a good time for an online discovery workshop. Content. So there are several points that are worth making. I would start with what RPA is. So just present the technology, present what it does, when it can be used, and then talk about the as-is situation in the company and in the industry, as well as the future of RPA and how RPA is being used together with AI to achieve cognitive automation. I would then touch on benefits, and everybody is probably thinking about FTE, headcount reduction, when they talk about or hear about RPA, but that's not the only benefit. That's probably not the main benefit. It's definitely not the first benefit the company would have when they start implementing RPA. So we can talk about saved process time, and that's probably very important for all companies. It's much easier achievable than reducing headcount. We would typically save time for an employee, but it doesn't mean that RPA would then do everything that employee is doing, and then he or she would not have a job anymore. We talk about increased quality because robots don't make mistakes like humans do. We talk about faster throughput, so increased speed of, for example, getting some reports. A machine can prepare a report much faster than a human can do. We can talk about managing work spikes better, so we probably won't need as much overtime or hiring people for just a few months and then we realize that they don't have anything more to do. Because robots can work faster than humans, they are more scalable, so we can plan better for spikes in workload. And I think it's very important to get through the idea that RPA is not trying to replace humans, but can very well complement humans. It takes the tedious work of our hands and it allows us to have more time for creative thinking, to think about what really brings value, to feed data to maybe robots working, but just focus on the other humans, focus on the process, focus on the data, and less on the repetitive work that really brings no added value. So after this initial information, hopefully everybody knows now what RPA means, what RPA can do, how does it work, and now it's a time to prime the minds of the people attending the workshop and prepare them for the next step, which is brainstorming. And to prime their minds, we can give industry examples of successful RPA implementations, different processes that have been automated, and we can find them everywhere on the internet. We can check the maybe homepages of different RPA providers for such success stories, or we can check maybe the homepages of some big companies which are using RPA. They would all be very happy to share with us their success stories and just share how different processes have been automated and what benefits they reaped from those automations and so on. So those are readily available on the net. It's good to pick some of them which are maybe relevant to the industry and to the company for which we are holding the workshop. And of course, it's even better if, let's say, we are holding an RPA Discovery Workshop for a company that maybe has already started with RPA, but not the departments that we hold the workshop for. So if we do have some internal implementation examples for RPA in the company, those are even more beneficial because we will just share what has been done already in the company with RPA. That increases the trust of the audience and just makes them want to also get some good use cases that would help them as well. So then we get to the brainstorming part. And here we should take as much time as we can have available. If we talk about an on-site workshop, we can maybe take half an hour. If we talk about an online workshop, we can maybe take 15 minutes. And we give this time to the participants after we have primed their minds with these RPA examples, we should still give them on screen some pointers that they should look for processes which are repetitive, which have high volume, which are rule-based, where the rules are very clear. Maybe the cost of performing the process is high, where there are maybe frequent errors and there are issues arising from this, maybe where they need more transparency and so on. So it's good if we have all these points maybe on a PowerPoint slide and leave it for the whole duration of the brainstorming session. And what's critical in any brainstorming session is that we shouldn't filter the output of the participants. We should just let them write down or just list their output. And we don't judge anything that anybody is saying during the brainstorm session. After the brainstorming session, the last part maybe of the workshop is evaluating the ideas. And here we start to become a bit critical. We maybe make a list of all the ideas from all the participants first, and we start looking at them and we start to evaluate them from typically two perspectives. One of them would be what is the value it brings to the business. So how high is the volume, for example? What are the business benefits? What problems do we solve? Do we have better quality? Do we need higher speed? And so on. And then we look also at the effort of implementing this automation. So at the feasibility. How complex is the process? Is it digitized really or not so much? Would it be really expensive to automate this process? Do we have a lot of variance? One essential point is that we do not want to automate a bad process that just makes a bad process faster. It's really important to also filter the processes, to approve them maybe with a process owner, for example, and make sure that we have first standardized the process as much as possible to avoid a lot of variance that would increase the cost of implementation exponentially, and make sure that we really have the process as optimized, as standardized as possible, and only then think about implementing the automation. So at the end, we would get a list of processes. Some of them would be dropped already after the critical evaluation, and the rest would be hopefully prioritized. And I think the main output of the workshop is to have a backlog of automation ideas that will then be considered for implementation. It depends on the organizational structure of the company, how and when that will be done. If the company works in agile mode, then this backlog would be then reviewed in a sprint planning session, and then stories could be created based on the different automation ideas. So that's the RPA Discovery Workshop in a nutshell. Those are the main points that I think are important for the Discovery Workshop. I'm curious to hear what are your ideas, what is your experience with RPA Discovery Workshops. If you have already led RPA Discovery Workshops or just participated in some, please let us know in the comments below what your experience was, what are your pointers or recommendations. Thank you for watching and see you next time.